Welcome, everyone, to the first ever podcast with the one and only Richard Hanson. Today, he has a very special guest with him to help explain how to understand your leadership style. We hope you enjoyed today's message, and thanks for listening. Here's your host, Richard Hanson.
What's up, guys? Super excited to be able to come to you tonight on our first ever podcast, and I can think of no other person than I would rather have in the studio with me than my good friend Mike Piazza. Mike, what's up?
Hey, Richard, glad to be here tonight. Super excited about the podcast. It's the first opportunity to kind of get out and reach some people. I believe we'll touch a lot of people with this podcast.
Mike, for those listening that may not have any background on you, I know you've been involved in coaching and motivation for number of years now in the corporate world. You want to just let them know just a little bit of your background?
Absolutely, Rich. I've been in the corporate arena for over 30 years, teaching, training, and coaching, and leadership styles. A lot of people know it as management at some level, but my expertise is really in coaching and teaching leadership styles, communication styles, and how to deal through tough times we find ourselves in the leadership field.
So as I'm sitting here sipping on this coffee, I'm thinking about how often as leaders we don't have a vision that motivates us to get out of bed, so we substitute it from coffee or some other thing to help motivate us to go about our day. But, you know, one thing I love about you in as far as your encouragement with leaders and motivating them to find their dream, to unpack their dream, and live their dream. You know, I think Benjamin Franklin said it best: most people die early on in life, but they're not buried until later on in their years. And what that means is by the time most of us are fresh out of high school, we've already got our hopes, dreams, aspirations already beaten out of us by life. And for the remainder of our time here on this earth, we go through the motions, but we don't have really any kind of emotion with it. So I think one of the greatest tragedies, especially as a leader and somebody that's a motivational coach, is to ensure that that gift that God had put inside of that person is unlocked and they can discover that gift before they take their last breath.
Yeah, Rich, that's a great point. A lot of times we don't realize our leadership ability. We go through life kind of doing what we was taught, but we never take a step back and say, hey, am I leading at the highest ability that I can lead at? Do I understand what the vision of what I'm trying to do in whether it's a church, an organization, a business, or just leading a few people around an office? Do I know exactly what that looks like, and how do I reach not just my potential, but helping others around reach their greatest potential? And that's really what characterizes a great leader. You're not just leading, you're actually creating leaders in your environment.
So let me ask you a question for those that may be listening, wondering if maybe they've been called to leadership. Do you believe that everyone has some capability of being a leader?
Yes, I do, and I believe that it's a lot of times a taught skill. It's not necessarily we were born leaders. It becomes a situation where we're called to lead if we got out of bed in the morning. But with that being said, if you're not driven when you get out of bed in the morning, then you really don't have a true vision of where you're going as a leader. You need someone maybe to come alongside of you, look at your blind spots, and coach you on track to get the most potential out of you.
Right. I've met so many people traveling around the world that seemed naturally born gifted leaders, but yet I've seen other people that were not per se naturally gifted in the area of leadership, but yet begin to apply themselves in learning leadership, become exceptionally highly skilled leaders.
Well, I think that's true in pretty much all of us, that we have to fine-tune our skills, understand what it looks like, and then know how to put it in practice each and every day, because it's getting up every day and fine-tuning your skill as a leader is what's going to make you a successful, ongoing leader.
And sometimes it's as easy as just making your bed. You know, I've heard that analogy: if you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. And I think the reasoning behind it is sometimes we just need a small win. We're looking at this grandiose idea that we're going to change the world, but yet we can't even do the little things in life that comes with leadership.
Exactly, Rich. The more you start to have wins whenever it comes to leadership, the more you start to integrate the behaviors that leaders carry, the more you start to understand the things that leaders do, and you follow a lot of these key principles of other leaders. You look over their shoulders, the giants, the leaders have been there before us. the quicker we can craft that skill.
Right. I remember hearing John Maxwell talk about when he was learning and growing in his leadership style that he would actually seek out those that were highly level leaders, and he would actually send them a letter and offer them $100 for an hour of their time, and he would schedule his whole family vacation around being able to meet with these leaders for 1 hour.
Yeah, so Rich, that's a perfect example of someone that is intentional. They've got a plan, and they executed that plan flawlessly, and they sacrificed along the way in order to fine-tune their leadership skills. Great example.
Right. And I think so often sometimes we're looking for the big win immediately, like, going to McDonald's, and the whole story with Ray Kroc and all of that is, we want something fast service. And if we don't get it immediately, then we're going to be looking on for something else.
Yeah, so if you're going to be a fine-tuned leader, it's not an overnight success. You're going to have to take the time to understand what that looks like and then be intentional about the plan to get there. Ray Kroc did not become as successful as he did the first time he walked into McDonald's. It took years of sacrifice, hard work, neglect of other things so he could be successful as a leader of that franchise. And his hard work and diligence paid off. It doesn't happen overnight because we want it.
And I think that's so true. Anytime you see somebody in the top of their field recognized or crowned with any level of success, we see the immediate success at that moment, but the backdrop of all of that is years of hard work, grit, and determination to get where they got.
Rich, exactly. And a lot of people do not see all the work that went into that person's success. They just see the success in them rise, and they think it's an overnight success. The fact is it's not. It's a lot of sacrifice and intentional behavior changes within you that create the leader that you're going to be one day.
Right. And the thing about leadership is the world doesn't owe us anything. And I think in our generation, we have this sense of entitlement that the world owes us something and we don't have to work at anything to get any kind of result, as if we're going to just be spoon-fed. And I think in leadership, we have to realize there's a price to pay for any kind of level of leadership that we're going to rise up to and achieve.
Well, not only is there a price to pay, you have to be intentional about neglecting other things to be a more successful leader. And a lot of times we're trying to master 15 things, and really you need to fine-tune your craft as a leader. And that's going to take you doing some intentional work on yourself and actually understanding, getting alongside a mentor or coach, somebody that's going to help you see your blind spots and take you to places you couldn't go on your own.
So let me ask you a question for those that may be listening, hearing this for the first time about a mentor or a coach or accountability. Could you kind of just explain that?
Yeah, so basically I've been through the process. I've had people come alongside of me, coach and mentor me, and now I've been doing this for many years myself. If you don't have that person, it's just like somebody at the gym having a personal trainer. Without that personal trainer, you're not going to achieve the ultimate goal that you want on your own. You're going to stop, you're going to quit, you're going to make excuses. With the personal trainer, you're going to get to levels you could never get physically. It's the same with being involved with a mentor or a coach when you're trying to craft your leadership skills. You need somebody that can see your blind spots, call you out, and help craft you to a level that you can't get to on your own.
And I think coaches have an amazing way of being able to accelerate people into their destinies a lot quicker than having to go through it on your own.
Exactly. I mean, you look at any successful, say, college coach. Why are we paying these coaches millions of dollars when we don't really have to? But at the end of the day, without that coach and the direction of that coach, that player would never excel to the levels to actually enter the NFL and be at the elite of their game. You need the coaches to bring you to that level. You need the mentors. You need the people to come alongside of you and show you the areas that you can't see and help you see those blind spots to get past those areas.
One of the things that I see with especially young leaders that are emerging right now is this tendency of shooting too wide, this shotgun approach. They're just trying to take on too much. But I think as we grow in our leadership styles, then we can begin to fine-tune that and really laser in on exactly our style of leadership, because there's so many different styles of leadership that are out there.
Yeah, that's a good point, Rich, is that understanding what leadership looks like, but understanding your style of leadership, and that there's pluses and minuses to it, but understanding not only your style, but you're working with the world, and you're working with people out there. Maybe it's a small office, maybe it's a giant organization, but you're working with these people and they're going to have different styles. So if you don't work and integrate with their styles, with your style, a lot of times projects get bogged down, things never get accomplished, the church fails, the organization crumbles or misses sales and profit opportunities. It's a big time miss if we don't get this right.
Right. It's almost like it becomes a cap or a lid. You become the bottleneck.
Exactly.
You know, everything rises and falls on leadership. And almost every time, you know, whether we're dealing in an organization or a business or even a church environment, almost every problem stems from a lack of leadership.
Yep, exactly, Rich. And we don't see it initially. We blame it on this or that. A lot of times we're making excuses for what's not working. Never looking in the mirror and saying, hey, I could have done this, and this different. Had different people do different projects and tasks, they would have been a lot more successful. And we don't see it. And then things start to fall apart, churches fail, whatever it may be, businesses fall. And we never seen it as a leadership issue, but it always is. Look back to leadership, always.
You know, I think it's so important with that said is to surround yourself with people that complement your weakness in areas of leadership. You know, I've seen successful businessmen that they zeroed in on what they were good at, but they hired the best of the best to surround them in areas of their weakness.
Exactly. You can look from the highest governmental stance to a church organization to a business. If you surround yourself with the right leaders and the right characteristics of those leaders, they play into each other, and you're going to have the success you're looking for.
You know, I've heard it said that you become like the 5 closest people that you are currently around. So for those listening right now, you know, it's a good idea to take inventory of the people that you are around right now. If you want to be a world-class leader in any area, then you might have to change up some of the environments that you are currently in.
Yeah, Rich, that's a great point. We never also look at that as a leader as who are we around? And that goes back to who's mentoring us, who's coaching us, who's keeping us accountable. And if we don't have the right people around us, surrounding ourselves, and we don't have people that's going to call us to a higher level, how do we ever expect to get to that next level?
I think you nailed it right there. Leaders, especially transformational leaders, call us to a higher place. They have the ability to reach into us and see something that we don't currently see in ourselves and help us bring that out.
We need the affirmation from those leaders. We need the encouragement. We also need them to take us to that level we can't get to on our own. I mean, look at your own life. Look at my life. Look around you. If somebody has gotten to a higher level, you can always call out man, that person really helped me get to that next level. There's always somebody there that was there to motivate, coach, inspire you to that next level.
You know, I think the saying's true, iron sharpens iron. There's something about being around quality leaders that just sharpens each other in our leadership styles. Now, I had a chance, and I know many that are listening now for the first time, to be in some of your teachings. And you've taught a lot about the 4 various styles of leadership.
Yes, there's 4 styles basically that most people use, and the 4 styles are direct, spirited, considerate, or systematic. Those are 4 characteristic styles that people normally lead from. Sometimes they blend those styles, but most people have one of those styles that they use as their everyday leadership.
So if you were, say, hearing this for the first time, having no idea kind of what those 4 styles are, could you kind of briefly explain that for the listeners?
Yeah, so let's just say like a direct style. That's someone that is very accustomed to just telling people what to do. And if you have a direct style, that style may resonate well with certain people, but if you don't learn how to blend that direct style with other styles, when the time is called for you to be systematic or considerate in situations, you can tend to lose traction, you can tend to lose followers, your leaders will not perform very well. So understanding that the direct style is great, but it has shortnesses and weaknesses just like all the other styles.
Right. So as a direct style leader, you may be used to giving direct orders, but if you're dealing with somebody that's a compassionate style leader, you're not going to want to come in there with guns blazing.
Exactly. I think more tendencies are is people will tend to shy away from that direct style if they're maybe a considerate or a systematic style.
So as far as like, what would be the weakness of the direct style?
Well, just that very thing. You may be in a situation where you're leading a situation at the church, or you're leading a situation in your business, and there was one of your team members had a death in a family, and you have to you're the type of person, I just get it done. Well, you go in with that style of direct, and you don't have any empathy. Well, guess what? That person is going to lose respect for you. You can lose ground really fast and intimidate people away from you. So you got to understand direct style isn't perfect in every situation.
It's almost like any gift overextended becomes your predominant weakness.
It definitely is a caution sign when you're leading if you don't understand how to blend those styles in different situations.
Now, the strength of a dominant leader would be,
well, if for a dominant leader, somebody that, the building's on fire, we need to get out, and I need a direct leader. I need somebody to get me out of this building.
Exactly.
That's perfect, but that's not always the situation.
Now, I like what you said when I was in the teaching about the spirited leader.
So, yeah, the spirited leader is both highly assertive, but they're also highly boisterous. They're the type person that's going to motivate the team. They're the cheerleader. They're the person that's getting the team to move when things are stuck, projects are bogged down. The spirited leader is somebody you definitely want on your team, but at times they can overpromise. They can have a lot of rah-rah and not a lot of results. So you have the plus and you have the minus. That's why you have to have these leadership styles understood in a level that hey, I like the spirited leader, but we can't be spirited all the time. We got to get some work done.
Right. And I love what you said about spirited leaders. Cheerleaders never score points.
They don't score any points. It's exactly right. But they are a valuable part of the team, and we wouldn't have them, or we wouldn't look forward to having cheerleaders. But truth over harmony is that they don't score any points.
But it takes teamwork to make the dream work.
It does.
So they're a valuable asset to any organization. Now, what would be the weakness of a spirited leader?
Well, it's just that they overpromise. They stay in the spirited mode. They tend to be so cheerful all the time that they don't get the project done. They can actually cause the project to bog down.
Now, somebody that's, say, more systematic, how would you describe that?
Again, systematic leaders are basically low assertive, and they lower their speech of things that are going on. But the systematic leader is great when you're working on data projects and things of that nature. They like to really analyze everything. But on the other end, sometimes the overanalyzation, again, will stop a project or slow projects down. And imagine you got a spirited person, you got a direct person on that same team, they have to learn to understand and work together, appreciate each other's styles. While the spirited person's trying to get you going, the systematic part, hey, we're not going to go over the cliff, but we got to get going. So again, you see all these things working in churches, you see them working in businesses and organizations and nonprofits, and you wonder why things aren't getting moving. And it's just a breakdown of the styles and the communication within inside those styles, because it's not just knowing your style and understanding it. How do we communicate effectively within inside that style?
Right, and keep the teamwork together.
Exactly.
Because if you use the wrong approach, you can quickly unravel years of what you put into it.
You can, Rich. It can actually stop the whole thing in its tracks if you don't know how to get the team moving. That's why you have to have a key leader driving the bus.
And oftentimes, leaders are in the wrong position or the wrong seat on the bus.
They can very well be, and that's why it takes a key leader to come in and identify the positioning of the other people on the team so that we have the most productive team available.
Now, do you think somebody could self-analyze and see where they're at as far as if they're in the right seat, or does that take somebody like a coach or a mentor coming in and being able to see where they're at?
Yeah, Rich, and that goes back to the statement earlier I made about the coaches. Why do we pay coaches all this money? If, for example, in the NFL, we're paying players millions of dollars. Why do I need a coach? There's got to be somebody in that seat directing traffic, looking at the blind spots, helping you get to the next level. Even though you're the elite of your craft, you still need someone to come in and coach you to that next level.
So you got the dominant leader. You've got the spirited leader. You've got the systematic leader. And last but not least
is the considerate leader. And again, low assertive, low tell. They're the ones that most of them are introverts. They don't talk a lot. They're great when things are needed for, let's say they did have the death on a team, or someone that come in and kind of, just slow down and ask a lot of questions. They tend to care about people a lot. Where they get in trouble is people tend to take advantage of considerate leaders. They tend to take their kindness and take advantage of it and ask for extra time off or give the sob story and to consider, just take off the 3 or 4 weeks if you need to. And that's a problem when we're trying to get work done. So the considerate leader is again, a valuable part of the staff. But at the same time, if you don't understand how to craft that skill, you've become a hindrance to the team.
And they can quickly become a doormat.
Exactly.
And allow so many other areas and different styles of leadership to step on them. And I think it's important to say here, wherever style of leadership you have, there isn't really one style better than the other.
Yeah, a lot of people are preconceived that one style is better than the other. But the truth is you should understand and know all 4 styles. You always probably will have a dominant style, but know how to blend them during different situations is so important.
Because at the end of the day, we want motivation. We want to go at the dream that God had put inside of us that gets us out of bed, and it gets us out the door, and it gets us on the way to achieving everything that God has called us to do.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's almost like, when you're talking about the styles, it's almost like if you're right-handed, you do everything with your right hand. If I say, well, no, do it all with your left hand, after a little while, you get aggravated, you go right back to how you've done it. If you don't learn these styles and how to do it and craft them, it's going to cause you to go right back to where you were, and you'll do the same things you've always done. It'll really bog you down.
It's almost like we get on the hamster wheel and we don't know how to get off. And we get into these dysfunctional patterns of behavior and wrapped around just a particular style that we may be used to leading with. And I think it's important, especially in this new generation of leaders that are emerging, is learning how to work together, whether we're in business, whether we're in the church, whatever field that we're in, we're learning that we're better together.
That's exactly right, Rich. I think as we grow as leaders and we grow as communities, organizations, businesses, the better we are together, we can share these different characteristics and styles and help one another get to the next level.
And at the end of the day, I'm not going to always have to reach for that coffee to get me motivated in the morning. I can literally be motivated by the gift that God had put inside of me, but then also know how to execute and lead with that gift in the appropriate style.
Exactly. God says we make the plan, He directs our path. So our plan is understanding all this stuff. As we understand it and start to work in that craft, He will clearly direct our path.
And leadership is so vast, wouldn't you say?
Oh, it is.
It's like opening up a box and trying to get everything back inside. It's something that it's a lifetime of discovery.
It is a lifetime, and there's no true, real one definition. But when I talk about leadership styles, I think about your unique way that you lead, and everybody does it different.
So, Mike, as we kind of land this plane, and it's been awesome to be able to have you on this show. I really appreciate you coming and just adding so much value to so many people's lives. They're going to be able to listen to this, and they may not have the coach. They may not have the mentor. They may not have the various outlets of getting trained and equipped. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say there's a vast array of opportunities for you to find information you need to be a better leader. There's a vast array of things, whether you go to the net, you go to podcasts to get information, but you have to learn how to put it into practice. You just knowing the information does absolutely nothing. You're just like a spring that's pushed down with the potential. You have to learn how to release that potential and release the leader within inside of you.
So in this information age, technology at the click of a button, we're overloaded with data. What's something practically they could do walking away from this podcast today?
They could take just a simple leadership assessment of their styles. And once you understand your styles and start to study them, start to pay attention to how you lead. What do you avoid? What are things that I don't want to go there? And then start doing things that are outside of your comfort zone with the help of the material you've learned or the help of a coach or a mentor.
So as long as they're willing to do the work, they can expect to reap the results.
Yes, exactly.
And at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for results. And all of us are on this journey together. None of us have this thing figured out. We're just guides, so to speak, coming alongside humanity and helping them rediscover the leadership gift that God has put inside of them.
Rich, that's exactly right, and you said it perfectly. We're trying to discover the leadership that's already within you, unlock them, and you can do it.
Well, guys, listen, it's been an honor to be able to have you guys listening to this podcast. Mike, it's been an honor to have you come and share what you shared today. Look forward to having you back on the show. Until next time, God bless.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay tuned for much more to come.